In this video, we're going to follow up with our server setup by setting up FTP accounts and going through setting up databases. So I've run my server setups a short time ago. You can see Vultr and Linode here. If I check both of these servers, I should be able to see that there was some increase in usage during that actual build process. You can see here in the Linode that there was this build process here. This actual amount of time equates to about 45 minutes, so that's about what we would expect. And in Vultr here, you can see CPU usage. And if you go to the usage graphs, you can see something similar to Linode. So what I want to do is get FTP accounts set up, and I'm going to do that using Commando, like usual. So first of all, if I go back here and get this IP address of the server, and I just try to open it in the browser here, you can see this CentMinMod default test page. If I do this for the Linode, you can see that, yeah. So this is the default page that is running on your web server on your servers, and this confirms for us that, it's actually working, but we don't want this at all. So what I'm going to do is open up my Commando document, which is here. Open up Firefox. Move these around a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to create FTP account. So I'm going to open both of these recipes for service restart and create account. Okay, so this is add FTP account, typical usage here, open the raw, copy this, go back, or go back to your account, go to recipes, add a recipe. I will just put it in here, for example, but I have already added them. Remember to change the interpreter here to bash. Back we go. What have I got here? Create FTP account. So that's the one that I would have just added. I'm going to open that. I'm going to execute it. What I want to do is do it on my Vultr server only. That one, execute. Now this one's going to be a little different to the previous ones in that there's going to be some interactivity. So I need to choose an FTP username. It's going to be Zeno, and I need to choose a password. I'm going to use 123ABC123 because I can. Execute. There we go. Now, when you first do this, chances are here it's going to say stopping pure FTPD fail or whatever. That's going to be because the FTP service is not started by default when you build your server. It starts when you do this first create FTP account. So obviously you can't stop a service which isn't actually started in the first place, right? Now if we go back to, say, recipes, and we find restart FTP service, which is this one here that you can add, and we hit execute, and we do that on our Vultr server. You can see here that it restarted the service. So you might want to restart the service in cases where you make configuration changes or it's not running in the first place, whatever. That recipe is there. So now what I want to do is actually test that I can log in by FTP, right? So I'm going to open FileZilla, and I'm going to do, whoops, getting very terrible with window management here. I'm going to do this and move this across a little bit. I'm going to go to Site Manager. I want this one here. So I'll paste them there, get rid of spaces. Good. You want to use FTP, the default port is fine. You want to use explicit FTP. We need to change this to normal. I'm going to put in my username and password that I just created and connect. And there you go, that's all sorted. So if I open demodomain.com here, the files that are served to the user by the web server to a public person go in the public folder. And here you go here. I can right click and I can edit this file directly via FTP if I want. This is what it looks here. This page is used to test the proper operation of the HTTP server. If I open this again, so this is kind of looking like that test page, but it's a little different. This isn't actually the one that we're loading here. So to get an actual website up, you need to actually go through the recipe for making a website. Demodomain.com here is just kind of a placeholder, and I don't believe it's actually this page here. So if we go back to this document here, we go up, you can see the add a domain name here, which is what we would do when we're adding a site to actually put up, but we're not going to do that yet. We'll do that in a later video. For now, we just wanted to make this FTP account in order to actually allow us to upload files and of course test that it works, which it does. If you go down to the bottom, there's also some other things related to FTP users. There's this list FTP usernames here. Close this, and it's just this very, very simple command. If we wanted to run that ourselves, we could actually just copy it, or go to raw and copy it to be very pedantic. I can actually go into Vultr here and click View Console. Actually, I think it's kind of annoying to copy or to paste, so I'm going to do it manually. I need to log in as root, and I don't like this console because it's annoying to actually copy and paste. In fact, I'm not actually going to use it at all. Let's get mremote ng and connect to our Vultr. There we go, and I'm going to just tap right click to paste and hit enter. There you go, and you can see the various users that have been created in the past. I was playing around, so I actually made these two before, and there's the one I just made there. And I believe this is the root FTP directory. So when I log in, this is where I'm actually sent to. Okay, so that works fine. Close that. If we go here and we go to recipes, I should have the list users already here. I can filter. Cool, that's nice. FTP list users, so I can run that, and you can add that yourself. I'm going to do that on Vultr and hit execute. And I presume it'll be a log that appears. There we go. That's exactly what appeared in the console. So you can do that in here without ever having to actually log in. Now, as for the database related stuff, which is also important, let's go up here to add database username and password. Go to this recipe. Okay, open the raw, copy it, add it as a recipe to your account. For me, it's probably already in here. I want to do db perhaps. db create, that'll be the one that's in here, so I can hit execute. And here you can read these instructions to figure out how to actually do this. I'm just going to do it directly on Vultr. Hit execute. Ask me for the name. I'm going to call it testdb. The database username, so I'm going to call this db underscore user, for example, and the password I'm going to call have db password. So this is the information that you would give to various scripts and tools when they need access to databases. For example, when you're installing a self-hosted tracker, you need to make a database beforehand that it might use because it can't make it itself. It doesn't have the authority to do that. So you make a test database, or not a test database, any database. You give a specific username and password for that database, and then you give that information to that script so that it can log in. And if any information about the actual database server on your the database engine on your server is required, that information is here. The host is localhost, and the port is 3306. Okay, and I'm going to hit execute. And that'll be all sorted. And here this final note is that it's a local database only. You can't connect to it remotely, so those are kind of security settings. So any database you create through here, it's not going to be remotely accessible to the outside world, only to local applications. And that's pretty much it. That's how easy it is to actually set up FTP users and so on. The last thing here is this list all databases and list users. So we can run those ourselves directly through here. List databases. So we'll run that on a single server on Vultr. Boom, there's only testdb. And we can go back and run another one. This time we'll do list MySQL users. And there we go. So we have just that user that I created, db_user. Cool, so that works nice and efficiently. Hopefully you can see if you actually have lots of servers and you're running campaigns and you have quite a delocalized system, or there's a lot of you working together in a more high-tech way, then this is very, very efficient for creating groups, for example, like all Vultr servers, and you have 27 of them, for a random example, and you need to deploy a security update across all of them. Imagine going to recipes and actually picking, going to execute and actually picking an entire group of servers, ungrouped for example, or we can do that now, and then running something that does these commands across all of them. That's really, really cool. Let's do restart FTP service across all of them and execute and see what happens. Hopefully we'll just get log, only 2 in this case. There we go, easy. So that's really, really cool. We can see here the Vultr one was actually slightly faster. Not that this is a very important action to be fast. Let's put them against each other. What can we run? Let's run list databases. See who wins. Okay, so the Vultr one again. The Linode one doesn't have any because I didn't make any. List MySQL users. Okay, well, Vultr seems to be winning in every case by a very, very small margin for whatever reason. Maybe that's why we're using it. In any case, that's all for this video. In a later module, we are going to go over setting up a domain, actually purchasing a domain, doing the DNS setup, getting that domain or virtual host configured on your server, and then uploading files and checking that everything works. So I'll see you in that video.